Oh, okay. I've got my audio, and now I need my video capture device. ATEM. Okay, is that now that's working? Okay. I think now there we are.
Yeah.
We are. I'm going to fade to black for a moment.
Yeah, it's yeah.
And then I'm going to go live. I've got 1 minute.
Pebbles.
Now, does that work? No, I'm still in black now. There. I think I'm working. I think I'm up and running, live with a video. My stream shows a 15-minute delay or 15-second delay, so that's great. So now I can go into chat, and if anybody says anything, has any comments or suggestions. If you can't hear me, according to this, my audio is on. Yep, everything's on. So we are starting our first live stream from Shona Rae Studios, and it will not be without its own hiccups. But we would like to say thank you for CADA for funding this project, helping with the time, because it has been a lot of time. And so they're helping us with this project, and without them we couldn't have done it. And I would like to acknowledge that we are running this program from Seaspace King Edward, Calgary, Alberta, in Canada. And we acknowledge, in the spirit of reconciliation, that we live, work, and play on the traditional territories of the Blackfoot Confederacy. I'm so happy to do this, but it makes me, very emotional. The Siksika, Kene, and Piikani, the Tsuut'ina, the Stoney Nakoda Nations, the Métis Nation, Region 3. And we would like to acknowledge all the people and creatures, Indigenous and non, who make their homes in the Treaty 7 region of southern Alberta. So I think it's important that we acknowledge that, and it's a long time coming. So I also want to thank, CADA, I want to thank Seaspace for being such a great landlord, and I would like to thank Ron Chikora for all his technical assistance and consulting. I could not have done this without him. And I would also like to thank Drew and all the staff at the camera store for providing us with all this great equipment and technical assistance. Even in the evening before the opening of the show, Drew came over and helped me fine-tune the last bits and bobs. And always I want to say thank you to Herb Sawatsky, who creates all the sets, the furniture, hangs all my cables, and makes my dreams come true. So this studio and my career would not be what it was without Herb's input. So here we are, our first episode of 37 in the Converse Subversives series. I began this series 2 years ago during the first lockdown. I had it in my mind to make this work for many years. In 2013, I made a series of dolls, sculptures, from skulls that somebody brought me. Because I work with bone and because I do so much carving in antler, bone, natural materials, people started bringing me skulls. And so I found a skull in the alley on my way to the studio at the Burns, and I created these Barbie beasts, and I'll just, oh, where is she? Here she is. Here she is, one of the first Barbie beasts. So this was a deer skull, or a stag skull actually, and I turned it upside down, which is something I often do when I find something. I turn it upside down, and I used Barbie doll and doll parts to create a series. There's 3 in this series, and this is called Barbie Dearest, Deerest. And I really loved making these pieces. So and because I used doll parts, the idea of making more dolls became into my head, and I wanted to make more dolls, but I was finishing my fairy tale rings and making a living as a jewelry artist. So I don't always have time to do exactly what I want to do when I have the ideas, but I allow them to brew and I gather the materials. And as you can see from my wall, and I can even turn this camera up a little and show you, I have lots of skulls, you know? So when people give me these skulls and I turn them upside down, I mean, I see a torso. I mean, it's not what everyone sees, but it's what I see. So I had the idea of doll, and then that went through a lot of different permutations, let's say, over the next, over the next 7 years anyways. And because I started this series in 2020. And I decided to call the series Converse Subversives because I liked the idea of creating a conversation with something I conversed or turned upside down. And the reason I called it Converse Subversives is subversive is a term that we use to talk about people who kind of go against the status quo. And there's been times in my life where I feel like that's maybe what I do, you know. But I also, when I'm reading fairy tales and myth and folklore, most often it is about somebody who's going against the status quo. I have made it a lifetime study, reading fairy tales and dissecting them, and myth and folklore. I dissect them to see what's really behind that fairy tale. And as I was reading the fairy tales that I was thinking about doing for this Converse Subversives, I realized that I had found a whole treasure trove of fairy tales that were addressing the LBQT movement. Not to be disrespectful, but I'm really nervous. I don't always say everything right. But it was really interesting to me to read that Baba Yaga was a they, a binary person, rereading The Girl Who Became a Boy. I mean, come on, that's transgender in your face in the title. And lots of stories about women who dress like men, who act like men. And I mean, our cult, I mean, we've all heard those stories. We've seen those movies, you know. We've read the books where, especially in years ago, women were forced to do that to protect themselves and to also move forward in their life, because as a woman they wouldn't be taken seriously. I know in Toronto there was a doctor who they found out when she got quite elderly that she was actually a woman, but when she became a doctor she couldn't have if she was not a man, so she pretended to be a man. So there's many reasons for that, and for that behavior. So one of the stories that we're going to do is called The 12 Huntsmen, and it's really about 12 women who dress like men, act like men, to infiltrate another kingdom and find out what the heck is going on there. So we'll get into that when we get to that story. We're going to do 6 fairy tales. We're going to start with The Red Shoes, which is a story that I've covered before in my fairy tale rings. And The Red Shoes is about addiction. And I felt with the opioid crisis and what's going on with Big Pharma and everything, this was a very appropriate conversation to have at this time. So that's where we're going to start, with The Red Shoes. The next one we're going to do is Baba Yaga, because they are a very interesting character in myth and mythology, and I have a real personal connection to Baba Yaga. I love the way their hut spins wildly 3 times a day. We have Baba Yaga. Then the next one we do is Atalanta, which is a Greek myth about a woman who is a man. She's raised by bears, and she is very male. She's a warrior woman. She lives by herself. She's so happy. She's having a great life. And then, of course, she gets tricked into marriage, which is not uncommon in Greek mythology. Then we have another one we're doing is called She Bear. Of course, I have all these fantastic bear skulls, so I mean, I'm just really happy to do the story of She Bear, but you probably know it, The Coat of Many Colors. It's basically about child familial incest, which continues to be a problem in our culture, in the world today. And so I'm doing that story. And then that's one more. I have one more. I have it here. Oh, The Girl Who Became a Boy. I mentioned that one. So that's what we're going to do over the next year. We've got 37 episodes. Each week I'm going to concentrate especially on one story, or techniques, different techniques, and we're going to discuss how do you take a skull or a bone or an antler and create a character. And in this case, we're making 6 interactive jewelry sculptures. So just so you get an idea of what that means, this is one of the fairy tales I started. And I'll just go over to camera 2 and you can get a better look at it. I forgot to take my medicine, so my hands are shaking, but that's okay. You get it. So these are all these little Barbie parts and cast doll parts. And this piece is called The Evil Magician. And there is the evil magician right there. That's the bottom. But it can be flipped. And so this particular piece, the jewelry comes out here, comes out there, and we have a pendant we can wear. And it's kind of, the evil magician is, there's a couple of different tellings of it, but it has a lot to do with sewing. So I got this needle that was my mom's, and I'm going to put gold plate on that, or gold leaf. This button here was given to me by my father when I was 8 years old. I'm almost 65, so that's quite a while to be carrying that around. In a box sewing box that I got from my grandmother, and I found that in there. So I have, that's the eyes for the evil magician, and the little mouth's got Mom's needle in it, and I've got some gold thread that I got from my friend Cindy, my studio mate Cindy. So that's the beginning, and I'm putting them all together with needle felting, which I learned from Cindy, who just walked in. Do you want to come in and just say a quick hello? Well, that's okay. She can't find me on YouTube. You know what? This
Hi.
Episode is being recorded and it will be saved. So this is Cindy Giesbrach.
Yeah.
Do you want to just take your mask off
Oh,
just
sure.
to
Yeah,
say
yeah,
hello?
yeah. Hi, everyone. And,
So Cindy rents a space in my studio, and she's a fiber artist, and we've been working together for about 15 years now.
off and on.
Off and on. So it's been great. During COVID, Cindy came to join my studio in May of 2020.
I think it was before that.
So May, anyways.
Yeah, I think
and
it
then
was before that.
Cherry joined in August, and
Yeah.
she may or may not be here today. We all have lives. So over the course of these 37 episodes, we'll get a peek at what Cindy does as well, and just to restate that Cindy's the one who got me into needle felting. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's a great sculptural medium. So,
Yeah.
it's really good.
Oh, thanks. She can't find me on YouTube. Hopefully somebody can.
I'm more technically inept.
Oh, well, we're all just doing the best we can here. I do want to say that I started this whole idea of doing live broadcasts from my studio, started during the first lockdown when the Rumble House had a live auction, and I joined it, and they said hello, and so I almost wept. I felt so included and not alone anymore, because at that time we were all really serious self-isolating, and throughout the pandemic I have kept very safe and very isolated because of my friends or family who have been ill during the pandemic. So Converse also means to turn things upside down, and our whole life got turned upside down during that pandemic. But we also, I hope we grew and learned something from it. I think I did. So where were we? Okay, so what we're going to do is, I can't wait to start the red shoes, because I have been waiting for this first episode so I can start this piece. Here's the skull that I'm working with. I found it at one of me and Herb's favorite stops, skull and bone finding stops on our way to the Kootenays, back and forth from the Kootenays. And here it is. It's very, very fragile. And even though it looks really dirty, I have scrubbed it very thoroughly in a tub of warm or very warm soapy water, and I use these kind of brushes and a toothbrush, a stiff toothbrush, to get right in there, so that I'm I'm scrubbing right inside that, and I'm getting out all the dirt and the insects or whatever might be alive in there. Whoa, it's going to take me a while to learn that. So that's the first skull we're going to work with. I'm turning it upside, what I call upside down. This would be where the nose would continue. And you see it has this very large cavity in the back, which I will probably make a felt kind of door for, because I want to make an opening in the front. I'm going to open up the front of it to create a recess in the skull where I can place my piece of jewelry. So how do we begin? Well, we clean the skull, okay? And then we jot down all our ideas, like what is the red shoes about? What do the red shoes mean? Maybe I should quickly go over the story of the red shoes. So there's a young woman who is an orphan and lives on her own on the streets of some unknown town, and she is destitute, and it comes winter and she has no shoes. So she gathers bits of fiber and scraps of cloth, and she winds them around her feet, and she creates these lovely shoes that she's so proud of. She's so proud of them. They're beautiful, they're all colors, they're different textures. And people start noticing her and giving her more money when she's baking. And one day, an wealthy elderly woman is driving by, and she sees the young girl, and she invites the young girl to come and live with her. So she takes her to her mansion, and they take off all her dirty clothes and unwrap her dirty shoes, and they put her in a bathtub, and when she gets out, they give her all new clean clothes, and they give her new shoes. She says, "What happened to my beautiful shoes?" And they said, "We burned them." And she was quite sad about that. She loved those shoes. She made them. It was her creative outlet. And so then the old lady decides she needs a very special pair of shoes for church. So they go to the shoemaker. And when they're at the shoemaker, the old lady orders her a pair of black shoes. But the young girl sees on the shelf a pair of beautiful red shoes. And she says, "Those are the shoes for me. I like those red shoes." But the woman says, "Oh no, you can't wear red shoes to church." So the young girl goes back to pick up her black shoes, and the old woman it's not such a good sight, let's put it that way. And for some reason, the girl manages to get the red shoes instead of the black shoes. And she puts them on, and she goes to church. And as she's walking into the church building, there's a man there, and he's laughing at her. And he said, "You're going to be mine." And she walks into the church, and she sits down, and then all of a sudden she starts dancing. She leaps up and starts dancing. Of course, she has to leave the church. And when she gets out of the church, that man that was standing there looking at her, he's laughing at her. She takes off the shoes, and she stops dancing. So the next week, she goes back to church, and the old man I don't know if he's an old man, we'll call him the devil, is standing there, and same thing happens. She can't stop dancing, so she has to leave. And the old lady is very upset at her now. She finds out that she's got red shoes, she's trying to come to church, she's in a lot of trouble, and everyone is very disapproving of her. So finally, she gets the other pair of black shoes, but when it comes time to go to church on Sunday, she can't stop herself. She must put on those red shoes. She can't believe that she won't have control. When she gets to the church, she goes inside and she starts dancing. And when she leaves the church, the old guys there, they are there, and he says, "You're mine now." And he walks away, and she can't take the shoes off, and she can't stop dancing. So she dances and dances and dances. Days go by, nights go by, and she can't stop dancing. The old lady dies of a broken heart. She watches the funeral procession go by her. She can't stop dancing. She can't even go say goodbye to that old lady, whom she was very fond of. Finally, she goes into the woods. She dances into the woods, and she meets a woodcutter there, and she says, "Cut off my feet." And he says, "What?" She says, "I can't stop dancing. I can't get these shoes off. Cut them off of me." So he does. And she stops the bleeding, and she crawls back into town, back to her corner in town, and she wraps the stubs of her legs with all those different materials that she could find. And now that's her for the rest of her life. But she stopped dancing. So she was able to get, the only way she could get control is by quite drastic measures. And as we know, it's very difficult when you have a severe addiction. Sometimes we have to take drastic measures to move forward in our life, even if perhaps now we'll always be altered, won't we? So that's what the red shoes, that's the story of the red shoes. And so that's where we're going with this piece. I have, so I know the story, I understand most of the symbology. So I create a task list. I write it down. Quite often, I used to do it always in my journals, but now I find working with Word really, or a writing program really is fine. I'm much more comfortable with them now. And so the first thing I do, even if I've already done it, I write it down so I can cross it off. I love to cross off my list. So I scrub the skull, and then I have to draw an opening in it. To what shape opening do I want? So in this case, I have gathered a bunch of materials over the years for this piece. And one of those materials is a whole bunch of pills that my dad ordered online from China. They were supposed to be some kind of magic, supplement. And they were bright red and bright yellow, and I just did not feel comfortable. I didn't feel comfortable. I asked my dad, don't do that, don't eat those. So here comes this is what happens at Shona Rae Studios. People come and go. So I think our other studio mate is here now. Is it Miss Cherry? Oh, yay, here she is. So come on in, like it's your studio, right? This is our first time, so nobody's sure what's going on. But we're live on YouTube. Say hello, Cherry. This
Hello
is
out
our
there.
wonderful studio mate, Cherry Deacon. Many of you, I think, know her. She ran the Glenbow Museum shop and
That's right.
collage, and she's a wonderful artist. So now she makes jewelry in our studio since
Yes.
August 2020, eh?
Yes.
Yeah. So
Absolutely.
here she is. So every once in a
Hi.
while you're going to hear them hammering and tapping and doing what they do, because you know what? We make noise in the studio. So I just have to bring my voice up louder so you can hear me. Okay, back to the red shoes. I use these mechanical pencils, and I should probably do this down here. I am working upside down from you, but what I do is I draw on the skull, And in this case, I'm going to draw the shape of those weird pills my dad got. Those red and yellow pills that I will admit it, I confiscated them from my poor old dad. But I just didn't feel comfortable with him taking a supplement with something that was made out of red and yellow plastic. So my dad was a beekeeper and he was into natural health foods before anybody I knew. When we got sick when we were kids, he would go down to the barn and grab a handful of alfalfa and boil it up with some fennel seed and make us drink it. So he was into natural remedies. He made his own tinctures. Yeah, he made his own tinctures. He was a pretty cool guy. So I am going to leave that with you for just a moment because I have to go get those pills to show you. If I can find them. Oh well. You know what? This is what happens. I spent so much time trying to figure out how to actually go live on YouTube that I didn't I didn't find those pills. But I've got something else. I have got these pills that I made myself. These are, I make these for myself. I buy the veggie capsules, and these happen to be made with baking soda, but I might add anything that's supplement that I'm taking that I'm finding hard to just swallow naturally. So I've got a whole bunch in red and yellow. So we know right away that we're going to be working with red and yellow in this piece. So that's a given. We have red, we have yellow, we have black, right? And white. So I might add another color, and I probably will. I haven't completely decided. It'll probably be a purple, but I haven't decided, and that's okay. We don't have to know every detail. We just have a pretty good idea what we're doing. I know that I need to make an opening, and I'm pretty sure I'm going to make an opening the shape of a pill on here. As you can see, like with this skull, because of the nature of the skull, I might, in this case, make a nice shield shape, because we're going to be dealing with incest and we want to protect this doll, so we might work with a shield shape, you know? If I don't like what I've drawn, I just take an eraser and I erase. This skull came with the word bear written on it, so I've always left that on, but it'll come off. And this skull is much harder to see, but I think you can see the. So now I know, and I'm going to be cutting that out. I'm cutting that out just like I did with this piece. I cut these shapes out, and I use a Fordham flex shaft to do that. And I have many different bits that I can use to carve bone and antler and cut into it. So because all of my, you can't get a saw in there. So, and then I know with this piece, I know I'm going to do a heart pendant in there. And in fact, I'm going to do a heart pendant based on the tarot card Sorrow. So that's the Three of Swords. And that that is, I'll do this here. The Three of Swords is basically 1, 2, 3 swords. We call these thumbnail sketches. Bloop, bloop, bloop. So I'm going to do a brooch, basically like that, you know. And but in this case, instead of swords, I'm going to do hypodermic needles. So they won't be real needles, obviously, but they'll be, this brooch will be carved out of bone. This part will be carved out of bone, and it may or may not be an anatomically correct heart. And then I will use silver on the back of it, and it'll all get, and these shapes will be cut out, and we'll go into that. I'll be showing you how to do that, how I do it. We manipulate the metal so that we get what we want. So that's the next step is to cut the opening. So what I'm going to use is my Fordham flex shaft, which is, can you see it there? Do I need to go like this more? Can you see that? And I'm going to use a different bit. This is my grinding bit for really removing a lot of material. If you have somebody who, or if you're a hairdresser, go to a nail salon and get one of those bits. Best bits ever for carving. And here, what have we got here? I have all kinds of carving bits. Do you see how that bit, it seems to show up better against the dark. So that's a tiny little, it's called a tumbler bit. And I used that. And here's one that's even, that's a drill bit. And let's get one that's even finer. Let's get out all our bits. All our bits here. There, see? And so I can go into this and find another bit that will be perfect for this job. Here's mostly drill bits, but there's my carving bits here. I wanted to show you this one. It's how do I get close enough? Can you see? It's just it's flat on top and it's super thin, and it just, I don't even know what they call it. It's not a lentil, but it works like a hot damn. Oh, did I swear? I have to be careful. So I'm gonna always put on my apron. Turn this down just so you can see. I'm gonna put on an apron before I use my Fordham, because sometimes you slip with the Fordham and it goes into your clothes and it wrecks them, but this way we protect our clothing. We also, if we have anything loose, dangling, we want to tuck it away. We don't want to have anything loose or dangling. normally I would put on a mask, but because I'm going to be talking to you, I'm not going to. I will, however, wear this. And I have 3 viewers. Oh my God, has anybody asked a question? Aw. Hi, Diane. Thanks for... If you have any questions, please ask me. If I can't answer them right away, we'll answer them next week, because this is going to go on for 37 episodes, kids. So please feel free to ask questions, make comments, especially if you can't hear me. I'm trying to raise my voice now because I'm behind a shield. Always wear a shield or safety glasses if you're going to work with any kind of equipment that grinds or turns. It's motorized. That's kind of the base rule here. And there's other times when we wear it too, but that's our base rule. Next week, we'll have a third camera, or sometime in the next few weeks, we'll have a third camera set up at my goldsmith bench. But, yeah, just getting 2. It was a big deal. And finding the HDMI cables for them. I mean, they're not just, nobody carries these specific HDMI for GoPros. So far, I will let you know. I'm going to say this right now. I have not bought one thing from Amazon since this whole thing started, this pandemic started. I shop local and I order local. But I was told last night that I may have to go on Amazon for some of my needs, because local places just don't want to carry those kind of cables here. The length I need, the type I need. So, yeah. But thanks, Camera Store. Thanks, Best Buy locally. Thank you, Sunil, and all the stores that do carry the stuff we need. Oh, Memory Express. I bought some from them. Okay, so here we go. We're going to start the Fordham. We're going to use a 3-point contact. Now, at this point, I think we're going to need to go like this so you can see what I'm doing. I'm using a 3-point contact. Thumb here, hand here, other hand holding this. And believe me, the shaking is okay. I can do this. And then I'm just pressing into the bone with my little knife. That's what it's called, a knife edge. And I'm making this great line in there, and I'm just pulling towards my thumb. I'm holding it like this. I'm not holding it like a pencil. I'm holding it like this. And we're just pulling this towards us. And then every once in a while we have to move the piece, not our hands. Our hands are steady on the belly here, especially for me because I have a palsy. And then I'm turning, as you can see, I'm turning the piece, not my hand. My hand stands steady, except for there's this, like, I've got like 2 centimeters of play there that I can work with. So now I'm going to turn the whole piece around, and we're not going to worry if it's not exactly perfect cut, because we can always file. And we're going to be creating a frame for this hole, so that will also take care of any inconsistencies, because you won't see. And there we go. We're just about done the first line. This doesn't go all the way through. It's just it gives me something to follow, my other bits to follow. And if you don't like the smell of carved bone, it can get kind of smelly, but okay. So I don't know if you can see that, but when I hold it at different angles, I think you can see where I've cut into the skull. But that's all I've done. So now I have to take a different bit. It would really help if I had my glasses on. Not bad, eh? Okay, here's a nice bit. It's like a tumbler. I don't know what they call this one. It's like a tumbler, but it has a bit of a point to it. I'm just going to go grab a pair of glasses. Okay, so we're going to take that bit and we're going to put it into the fordham now. And we're going to go all the way through. And then we're going to have a big cavity to fill up. And our skull will be more. So now I'm going to hold it differently. I'm going to hold it to the side here. And I'm just following the line that was made for me. Every skull is different. The goat skull that I made that piece, the evil magician out of, that was amazing. Did you know that goat skulls have 2 layers? And then all these bone pathways between the layers. It was really interesting. Of course, I imagine the ram skulls are very similar. I've never taken one of those, worked with one of those. And the other thing I've learned since the pandemic, and I started to really have time to carve skulls, and I carved a few of them. They are hard, much harder than bone, much harder than antler, and or teeth. Like I've carved walrus teeth before, and so basically that's animal ivory. Skulls are really hard. A bit that lasts me 20 hours or 30 hours of carving on bone, cow bone, just regular domestic cow bone, works for 3 or 4 hours on a skull, especially a wild skull. So it's quite a difference. Because this, eventually all this friction that you can sense while I'm carving through this, and I'm just about done. I don't know if you can see only, because, but if we look this, my lights aren't on. Thanks, Cindy. Cindy's going to turn on my lights. We completely forgot. Oh, wait till you get these lights. Wait till you see what happens when we get lights. My finger. Oh, there. Did you just saw your finger?
I just saw
the first aid is in the kitchen stuff now. Oh my God. Can we see better or what? Oh, so many things to remember. I have to make a checklist. Right, Ron? Anyways, okay, let's finish this. It's just about done. And then we're going to end up with this beautiful piece of skull, which I may. Would you bring me Dad's alien doll out of the exhibition?
Which one is it?
The one with at the very end with that I made for my dad. Thanks, Cindy. Okay. Yeah, I'm just going to be showing you what I mean by what we're going to do with this. I'm just about done here, and then I can show you what we mean. And I won't always do the whole, some of the things I show you, I'll give you a demonstration of what I'm going to do, and then we'll move on because we're going to be working on more than one piece at a time. But I just put my thumb in there now. There was a couple of spots that were still attached. Put my thumb and pop that out. So there we have a recess now. So this is such a fragile bone. I am going to have to build a little back for that. But that's okay, because that gives me more control over what I'm doing. Oh, I think, oh yeah. Is that going to happen? I went to my other camera. There. Oh, okay. I was at the other camera. Good. Okay. Isn't this cool? I can go from camera to camera just with a flip of a button. It's called an ATEM Mini Black Magic design. And it is a wonderful, wonderful, inexpensive piece of technology. Okay, so this is my dad's alien doll that I made. And this is kind of the direction we're going. After making quite a few of the sculptures, I realized this is the direction I want to go. I want to use my goldsmith techniques, use them or lose them, right? And I want to incorporate them with these pieces, and I want to make something special. I want to make something special. I don't want to just, same old, same old. I want to push myself, right? And so inside this doll, we have this little piece of jewelry. I call it his mini-me. My dad died during a year ago, just over a year ago. And he loved hunting, and he believed in aliens. So I call it Dad's alien doll. But also I feel like, and see, I made these little antler pieces, and I made this frame, and that's really why I wanted to show it to you. I made these frames around the little openings I made so that it was embellished, right? For embellishment, but also just to elevate it, and just to make it more special and to give it more strength. I believe the openings are less fragile now that they have these. And I made rivets for them, but really I pulled the rivets through, I soldered them to the frame, and we'll go through all that. We're going to do it all. And then I just took my thumb and tightened them up. It doesn't always have to be, every piece is different, and every piece gets what it needs. That's kind of the rule around here at Shona Rae Studios. This is the back of it, the hanger, again, more of the antler. And then this is also where you could, down here, slip a chain and hang it in there when you're not wearing the pendant. So I called him Dad's alien doll because he believed in aliens. But also, at the very beginning of the pandemic, my mom died. And then we were all self-isolating. We couldn't drive. It was nuts. And I normally went to see my folks every 6 to 10 weeks. And surely, had there not been a pandemic, I would have been at my dad's, hanging out with them every 6 or 8 weeks, for sure. And, but he was left alone. Well, he had his housekeepers and his caregivers and everyone, but it's not the same, right? And so I feel he felt alienated. And even though we went to see him in July, and then my daughter went to see him in August, and we were starting to go back and visit him, after over 70 years of being married to my mom, he just said, "That's it, I'm done," and he ditched. So, in a really cool, classy way, like my dad is, you know. So anyways, this is my doll for my dad. And that's the direction we're heading. So it's got the little piece of jewelry inside. And, and that piece of jewelry, that's I wanted to show you, is made with that, one of the pieces I cut out of his skull. So this is cow bone here. And then this is a part of his skull. And I just love that stitching kind of line that's in all skulls, our skulls too. So, I just find nature is so amazing. Like, nature is just so beautiful, the way they create these beautiful, it's not just functional, it's beautiful inside and out. So remember that. We are all beautiful. Our skulls, our bones, everything is so beautiful inside and out. Don't forget that. And so we've been at it an hour. I was thinking these should be 3-hour episodes, but I'm realizing maybe they only need to be an hour. It's a long time, isn't it? Anyways, so this is the red shoes. We got the cutout done. Next it says, anneal and hammer texture, sterling silver, 0.75 thick. So that's the thickness of the sheet that I will use. And I will hammer texture my metal. And sure, why not? Let's do it. I'll just take a moment and let's put something really beautiful down on the counter so you can see it. And I'll go grab my sheet. Let's not... Yeah, here's my little doll for me and my mom and dad. Yeah, there. It's going to take me a while to figure out that left, right, and center thing. This is 0.6, 0.8. 7.5. Oh God. So here it comes. This is how I buy my sheet, and it comes like this in a bag. Usually I buy sheet, the point, anything less than 1 millimeter, I buy 10 or 12 inches at a time from a refinery. Canadian. It is owned by an American company, but they have a Canadian office here. And just so you know, all this metal comes from silver mines that are owned, cooperative mines that are owned by, excuse me just a sec, that are owned by the people who work in them. And the practices are they try and be as good to the planet as they can be. Let's put it that way. You know, let's face it, mining is hard on the planet. It's hard on the landscape. But they do try and be as environmentally good as possible. Let's put it that way. I went to a lecture about it years ago at a SNAG conference. So I buy my silver there, and my sheet and my wire, and then my gold, I usually buy it I buy a coin and then I melt it and get what kind of gold I want. So while I am cutting this, I will let you go back to the Evil Magician. I'm going to cut off a piece of this metal. I have a slicer back there. Someday I'll set up the camera so you can see it. I just sliced off a piece. I have this beautiful metal shear that I love. And this is a brand new piece of metal out of the box. So what I do is I take a Sharpie. We have Sharpies everywhere. We have Sharpies everywhere in the studio, and I write 0.75. 0.75. 0.75. Always, always. So as we use it, we always know what kind we're using. And then I'll go into my task list that I pre-wrote, and I'll do a little tick there. So I know I like to be consistent. I like to keep track of what I'm using in my work, so that if it works, I can go back and redo it, get there again. Someday I'll be like that with this new technology I've learned to use. It's been quite a learning curve. So, okay, so we got that out of the way. Now we're going to grab our hammering block and a hammer. Where would the hammering block be? Do you?
Which one are you using?
The round one?
Yeah, I got it right.
Okay, Cindy's been using it this afternoon. Are you done with it?
Yeah.
Oh, perfect. So this is, oh my wonderful. I've had this hammer block since 1999. And it was made by someone in the Kootenays. And they sold it to my girlfriend, who was taking jewelry classes with me at the Kootenay School of the Arts. But she decided that she didn't want to make jewelry, so I bought a lot of her tools from her. One of my torches, actually. And anyways, this side of the block is very compromised, as you can see. And that is my favorite texture, because I am the only person in the world who has that texture. I try and keep this side pristine. Every once in a while it gets hammered on. But I mean, considering I've had it since 1999, I think it's doing pretty good. So we take that block and we put it wherever, in this case I'm going to put it wherever there's a leg for the table, and that will deaden the sound somewhat. But it is going to be noisy. So that's just the way it is. And then I always hold my metal off the block. I never put my thumb on the block. We keep our thumb off and hold the metal off the block. If we're young and we've taken care of ourselves, it's a good idea to put on a pair of gloves when you're hammering. Not so much the hand that holds the hammer, because we've got this whole thing to carry the vibration that goes into our hand, and we're going to be holding I'm just going to turn that up a little. We're going to be holding our arms. Our elbow is going to be right in our belly there, right in our waistline, okay? So you can't really see, but I'm holding my arm right against my body, and then I'm not hammering. I'm not using, I'm just gently holding my hammer and allowing the weight of the head to fall. And I'm not hammering, I'm tapping. So I start at one end in one corner, and I just gently tap, 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 all the way . I'm not moving this hand. This hand stays still. This hand is moving the metal. So I wonder if you know what, I'm not going to do that. It takes about 20 minutes to hammer this whole piece of metal. So at this point, I'm going to say, we're going to do that before next week. That piece of metal is going to be hammered and textured. But the next step I would do then is draw my opening. So in order to draw my opening, I need to make a pattern of my opening. So let's do that now. And we'll just set this aside. And just for your listening pleasure, visual entertainment, this is just a nice little hammer. What do we call it?
Chasing? Is it?
Yes, it is. I know that, but of course I don't know it when I'm in front of the camera. This is a chasing hammer. This side here is great for riveting and just making a ball peen on your hammer. This side here, the reason why I like it is because normally a chasing hammer is used to hit other metal pieces, such as here's a tool, a metal chasing tool. And the hammer is normally used like that, you see? And what's happening there, and my hand will stop shaking. No, it won't. Yes, it will. Okay, take a deep breath, Shona. That helps. But even though my hand's shaking, I'm not missing too much. I'm not missing as much, because I have this nice big flat surface that has a slight curve to it. So this is the safest kind of hammer to use for chasing. And because I use it for chasing, can you see how textured it is? Can you see how much marks it has? So when I hammer into this piece of metal, I not only get the hammer marks from this, I get the texture from this on one side. I get the texture from my hammer on the other side. So I'm texturing both sides of the metal, once again, with a completely unique tool to my studio. Only in my studio will you find this hammer block with this texture, this hammer with this texture. I mean, sure, you can create your own, but no two will be alike. And I really like that. I really like creating objects that are unique. And yes, they can be replicated, but never exactly. And I like the idea that I am making something that only I can make. So, and there's so many ways to make texture on metal. I mean, many, many different kinds of hammers. You can buy hammers that are just for texturing metal, or you can take your hammers that you already have and you can use your boredom and your bits and create a texture in them. You can take them out and hammer them on really nasty pieces of metal and create a lovely hammer. Anything, just for me, it's just, I like to start with something that's not pristine. I'm not a very pristine person, And anyone who does this knows how hard it is to make something perfectly shiny if you're not in a factory. So at this point, I want to make a huge shout out to Andrea Blaze, who makes the most pristine and divinely designed jewelry. So if you don't know Andrea Blaze, you go online and you find her. She's all over that social media. She'd probably be doing her own social distancing too, but she knows how to polish to a high polish. Yeah. And design like a nobody's business. So check her out. She's worth it. And it's a pleasure. So, okay, so I like to texture my metal, and we'll show different kinds of textures. Oh my God. Dale Turry, this is wonderful, Shona. I'll be popping in and out. Oh, thanks. I've had comments. I had at least 2 people watching. Oh my God. I have 2 people. I just said I only wanted 4 people to watch today, and it looks like I had 5. So I already outdid my, whatever it was I did. I don't know. You know what? I used to always sing this song. I wrote these words for another song when I was in my 20s. I want to run, hop, leap, jump, run, slither and slide. I want to run, hop, leap, jump, run, slither and slide. I don't care if I fall, 'cause I'm going for the ride. Okay? That's me. I'm just going to jump into something and do it. And all of a sudden, 20 years later, oh my God, I made 22 fairy tale reads. 2 years later, here I am with my own live broadcast. It only took 2 years to get it to come to fruition. Patience is the name of the art game, kids. Just keep that in mind. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to make a pattern for the inside of this. Super simple. I just take a piece of scrap paper. I push it. I'm going to go on my second camera here. I'm going to push it down here. I'm going to push it onto my skull. Now take my pencil, or maybe even take a piece of, I've got these really thicker pieces of lead in here somewhere. Ugh, oh well. I know I've got some nice thick, no, never when you need them, right? That's the way it is. But I've got lots of mechanical pencils. And here we go. I've got this, and I'm actually pushing it against the paper and making a line. This is what I do. I mean, other people might do it differently. This is what I found worked for me. And oh, I'm so excited to get this piece on the go. You have no idea. I've been waiting and waiting. Okay, here we go. Now I have a circle. I don't know which camera I'm on. There, I've got my circle drawn. So take a pair of scissors. Can you pass me a pair of scissors, Cherry?
Yes.
Miss Cherry always has her scissors. And I'm one of those people who can never keep their scissors available to them. Okay, I'm just going to cut this out. Can you see what I'm doing? Yeah, sure. And you can see it's not perfect. It's okay. If I was perfect, I don't know. I don't think life would be very much fun, would it? And certainly there'd be no challenge. And that's the other thing about this series. It's a challenge for me. And this whole new thing I'm doing with programming. So I'm just going to see how that fits. It's a little bigger than my opening, and that's okay. So now that I know it's too big for the opening, I'm going to go in and draw a second line well on the inside of it. Does anybody know why I would want to do that? Can anybody guess that? Well, usually if I had students, they'd all be guessing at this point. But, okay, so the reason I do that is because when I glue this piece of paper onto my textured metal, I'm going to drill a hole and I'm going to cut the inside of it out. But I want it to be smaller than the inside of this. Okay? So now what I need to do before I do that is decide what else do I want for that frame. Like, for instance, as we saw with my dad's frame, I created this set of antlers. So now I have to decide, what do I want my frame to look like? Let's go back to the red shoes. Let's go back to that story. What are the key points in that story? There's shoes. There's color, many different colors. And in this case, I'm going to say there's drugs. I know I want my shoes to wiggle and not have control of where they're going. So I've got that one figured out. What do I want my frame to look like? I'm going to go back to my task list, which I wrote a long time ago. And it doesn't say here. Oh, it does. Construct decorative frame, silhouette of horns and shoes. So by sawing and soldering the sheet. So I want to have shoes and I want to have horns. And I mean, I always battle this whole idea that the devil looks like a demon with horns. I have a problem with that. But at the same time, it's so much part of Western culture that I want people to understand what I'm trying to say. At the same time, I want to communicate my ideas without going into the whole background of my ideas or my personal spiritual beliefs. So I think I have decided to use horns in this piece for the devil. But I draw the line at the trident, because that belongs to Neptune and I will not take that from him. Okay, so I'm going to do horns. I'm going to have shoes. So I think maybe my frame, let's get that piece of paper out again. I see what I've forgotten here. You see what I've forgotten here. I forgot my journal, didn't I? I was pretty nervous about today. So I'm going to figure things out for next week. Yeah. Okay, so I need horns. I need shoes. And what do shoes typically look like? Are they high heel shoes? Are they, oh yeah, right away I'm just playing around with ideas here. A couple of years ago, I did a project for the Glenbow, and I had to do Dior fashioned clothing, and I did some shoes for them. So I'm kind of playing with that idea, and also some shoes I designed for my clown jewelry when I was in art school. Little known fact, I used to be a clown. And so this is kind of what I've come up with. This is what I've come up with kind of for the opening. So far, not so sure about it. Looks more like a penis. So I'm going to have to get something figured out here, kids. So obviously this part is not going to get done this week. We're going to have this frame cut out for you for next week. And that's where it goes today. So we're at 2:30. I am going to, I've got this piece that I cut out from my skull, and I do not want to lose it. So I'm going to go get a box right now. And trays. So I always keep old flat boxes in my drawer. It's called my trays and little boxes drawer. And I keep pieces, maybe even a bit that I was using. Say if I was carving this piece, I would put my bit in there, and it just so happens this box is big enough for the red shoes. So I'm going to put this skull and this piece of bone together in that, and it will go on my jewelry bench so that I don't have, next week or tomorrow when I start working on this piece again, I don't have to look for that. But as we're talking about it, let's take a look at this. I think I can use this piece in the jewelry. I'm pretty sure I can make a heart shape out of that. I'd really like to. So I'm going to keep that in mind. The only thing is, I don't want to compromise that beautiful natural piece. So this may end up being used, maybe it will be the eye of our doll, because eventually she's going to have a head just like her, similar. And I have chosen out a few choosy little things here. I have all these beautiful objects I've been collecting for this project. So I have these, which are sheep horns from a pet supply store here in Calgary that somebody recommended I go check out, and of course I bought a whole bunch of them. I just think they're so beautiful. They could be beaks. Can't you see them as a beak? Oh my God, they're so interesting. And I've got a whole bunch of them, but only a couple in black, right? So, and this one, as you can see, is got the white stripe on the back. So this, if I wanted the black to be showing to the front mostly, I would be using it here. Now I can chop these off at any size and make little horns for my doll, right? Oh, how do I show this? I'm so dyslexic as it is. I don't know. How does that? Can you see it better this way? I seem to. Yeah. See, this could be horns, or I have this one place I go where I gather bones. It's we call it the bone graveyard, but it's actually where the highways in BC, one of the highways departments in BC, tosses all the dead carcasses, and we go there and we find things. And look what I found! These are part of one. They're each one half of a little deer toe. They're deer toes. That's what they are. So they went like that, something like that. Little deer toe. Oh, they're so cute. And they're empty. And I found them just like laying on the ground, just like that, So they could be horns too. As you can see, they could be horns too. So I can use either one of these. I don't have to decide today because we're quite a ways from that. But once I do decide, I will put whatever materials I'm going to in there. Oh gosh, I've got something going on here with the YouTube. I'm frozen, I think. I don't know. It's way behind me. I've got six participants. You guys make all my dreams come true. My wish was for 4. So, and this is all being recorded, I believe. So we'll be putting these episodes up. So if you miss one, it'll go up. And eventually we'll get the good stuff. What? It stopped? It's going? Oh, good. Cindy's telling me, oh, something happened. Something happened here. Oh, my camera probably went dead.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah, there I am back again. Okay, so I'm going to have to change a camera. So I'm going to have to take a few moments here to change the camera. But like once I decide what I'm doing with this, I'll just put it in there with this and this. And I'll keep all those materials together because I might have 15 projects going at a time. Yeah, but I'm back on with this now. I think it'll go up. I think I'm still on with this camera. I think. Okay, so I'm just going to put this aside and we're going to replace. I guess it's more seconds than I thought.
Yeah, it's a lot more seconds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're just going to take a little brief break here, and we're going to also have things I can put inside here to entertain you while I'm not talking, but unfortunately I haven't figured out how to do that yet. So let's remove the HDMI from that, change the battery on the camera. Oh, look at me go. I never touched a GoPro until 10 days ago or something like that. And now here I am, changing the battery in front of an audience. So, you have to flatten these. Go like that. Take your other charged battery, remove number 4. I've got them all numbered so I know which ones I've been. Clip it back in. Make sure you put it in so that this HDMI hooks up to the. This is called a mod, a GoPro mod, and you click that and you turn it on. Please go on. Oh, this was the wrong battery to put in. Oh God, maybe not. Let's see. I may have gotten the wrong battery. Let's put this other battery in. That's okay. Maybe this one is. And if this is the end of the battery for today, we'll just have to call it a day because it's all fun and games here at Shona Rae Studios. And this is our inaugural episode, and everybody told me things would go wrong. If something can go wrong, it will go wrong, they said. Oh yeah, I've got lots of battery. Yeah, so for any of my friends who want to learn how to put a GoPro to HDMI, you just let me know because I know how to do it now. It's still by guess and by golly getting the rest of the program in, but whatever. We'll get it all figured out. So here we go. Now hook up your HDMI cable. Thanks again to Drew for coming out after work last night and giving me a hand getting this all set up. I mean, I thought I had it all set up, but I didn't. Cindy and I hacked it together the other day. Okay, here we go. I have to go over to this camera to get this to 1, 2, 3. Ta-da! We're up and running again. So, okay, here we are. I'm going to have a little drink. It's a lot of talking, isn't it, madam? Miss Cherry being quiet as a mouse. But you know, really, Cindy and I tested the volumes the other day, and they worked fine. I think I can do this. Where were we? Okay, I was putting the horns and everything with the red shoes. We're going to set her aside for now because obviously I have to do some drawing and I have to reconcile that frame that I'm going to do. But I'll just give you, I'll just quickly see. So we're going to do the decorative frame. I'm going to have that all ready to go to next week. And I might have some of it done, but I will definitely, if I do get more of it done than I should, I'll give you a demonstration on how I did it. Okay? That's a promise. Okay? So we want to do that. And then we're going to do a bunch of sawing and filing, which I'll demonstrate, but you really don't want to watch me do too much of that. And then we're going to file and bristle brush and clean up to polish, and then we'll polish it. And then we will double check that it fits to the cavity, and then we will drill for ball rivets. So we're going to be good, and I am excited. So what happens now is, oh gosh, I can't go any further on this project. What do I do now? Well, kids, we always have a second project on hand, don't we? So let's get out our second project. The second piece I'm going to make is Baba Yaga's hut. And I want to use this skull. Isn't that a beauty? I got that from Chris Twyman. I won't tell you where she found it. It's just weird. But what a doll she is. She used to take classes with me. That was before COVID. Well, she's welcome back, she knows. And this is the skull, and I keep it hung with this piece of wire. It's just a piece of hay wire. I love hay wire. And this is the other thing that came with it. If you can believe it, this came with it. Like, who has this? Who has something like this? Who keeps this? Somebody near and dear to my heart, let me tell you. And I inherited it. So I am a happy, happy camper. So this piece is going to go in here like that. And I will tilt the camera so you can see what I'm talking about, because it is super awesome. This is how this piece will be. So Baba Yaga, her house spun wildly 3 times a day, or their house, let's say there. I have to get used to that. But that's okay. Just trying to be as respectful as I can. And so I didn't have chicken legs for this piece, but I did have these 3 amazing legs that I want to use. And I don't know, doesn't it kind of look like a chicken? To me it does. So that's kind of why when I saw this piece, I went, oh my God, that's Baba Yaga's hut. And so here we go. We'll set that aside. And look what else I got. Like, honestly, this is the kind of thing. This is the kind of thing that happens if you start carving bone or antler or anything. This is what happens, kids. People start calling you up. So one day I get a call from Sherry DeSembrini. And she says, there's a dead owl in our barn. A dead owl in our barn. And I went, really? And she said, I'm wondering if you want to come and get it. She said, I called Fish and Wildlife, and they said it was okay if we gave it away because it was already dead. But they thought it had just died a couple of days before because they'd heard all the screaming, and owl screaming a few days before. And then she looked in the barn and she saw the dead owl, but she didn't want to touch it or anything. So Herb and I race over there. And Sherry DeSabrini is married to my good friend Art Bergman, who is the reason, one of the three reasons, there was three of them, it's one of the reasons why I became an artist and a musician. Just so you know, so I was hanging out with those punk rockers before they even knew they were punk rockers, right? And they made art, they made music, and I went, you know what? That's what I'm going to do. Just going to live like this. I'm going to be an artist, and I'm going to make music, and so I told Art this years ago. Thank you very much for that inspiration, because I can't complain about my life. Anyways, so I go to their barn, and Art and I go out to the barn. I've got my gloves on, I got my mask on, and he's got a pitchfork, and we go out to the barn, and I said, well, it looked really, really dead. And I said, just let me see if it's going to be heavy. And I picked it up, and it was literally, if you can believe this is terrible, light as a feather. It was so dead and so dried out. It was probably been there for a month or two in the summer, so it was done. So I just popped it in the bag I happen to have with me. Always keep a plastic bag, gloves, and a mask with you if you're on the hunt, if you like to pick up dead things. And during the first lockdown, I took the head off the owl, which had been tucked away somewhere where people didn't know it was there in my studio. Only me and Steffi knew about it, so she could gather feathers when she needed them. Anyways, I took the head off, and I soaked it, and I cleaned it, and look what I got. Like, oh my God. It is so beautiful. I mean, yeah, it's clean. I cleaned and cleaned and cleaned it, and then I put it in this box and kept it up on my bench because I just wanted to see it, but I didn't want it to get all dusty. It's so beautiful. Look at it. And it had these interesting membranes in the eyes that reminded me of plague doctor goggles, you know? The face kind of reminds me of a plague doctor goggles. But then I put it on top of here. And like, come on, kids. What, like, how perfect is that? Well, let's go to the other camera. How perfect is oh my God. It's light as a feather. It's very, well, it's bird skull, right? They have to be light. It is so beautiful. So this is the head for Baba Yaga. This is the 3 feet for Baba Yaga. That's a good start, right? And Baba Yaga is wild. It's a wild energy. And the reason I included it in this body of work, not only is Baba Yaga binary in some cultures, but they represent a mystery that is so deep and so vast, you do not ask. There's only a certain amount of questions you can ask Baba Yaga, and then if you go too far, it's like that story in the Bible in the First Testament. Don't look upon the glory of God with your bare eyes, or you will burn up. Well, it's that kind of mystery. So that's what Baba Yaga represents. And because of that, people are afraid, right? People are afraid of things they don't know, aren't they? They don't trust. We have not necessarily been, known for trusting. So during COVID, I saw a lot of people, I'm including me, we were afraid. We didn't know what we were up against. It was every day there was different information and misinformation, and it was worse than Trump, let's put it that way. And so I felt like I wanted to address those issues in this piece as well. So not only dealing with a binary entity here, we are also dealing with our fears around the unknown. And so we're going to be carving this skull, and we're going to be carving it with mysterious emblems inside, little COVID carvings. So that's going to take quite a while. Carving skull, as I mentioned earlier, is really hard on your bits, and it's harder than carving antler or regular bone. I mean, honestly, kids, it's crazy how hard it is. So we'll do some of the carving here, but I'll probably do most of it, during the week. And but that's what we're going to do with Baba Yaga. I have not written her task list. I have started it, and there's some things I just know about this story that I want to include in the piece. Of course, we have this amazing back piece here to work with that is also a face that, like, I love the back of skulls. They're just so beautiful. They have so much to offer us. I'm going to show you what I did with, I think, I've got this piece here. Oh, I've got this piece on the go. And I think maybe some of you have seen this piece in progress during the lockdown, but this is how far I've got. I still have to finish the painting on it. It's oil paint, and I'm taking my time with it. But this is Rosie, the cross-dressing zombie steer. And in the back of this piece, I have these copper screen pieces that I made, and they fit in side like that. So you can see, this copper screen is amazing to work with when it works, right? So there's one of the eyes will fit in there. I'm just kind of popping it in now, so it's not really quite proper, but it'll fit in there just perfectly. But the nice thing about the screen is it allows you to see the actual bone and the skull, which, again, I say over and over again, I love the beauty of nature and how it's given us these interesting shapes. It gives all creatures these beautiful shapes. And so this piece I'm going to try and get finished before my exhibition next September. I don't have that much to do, but I do have all the needle felting, which takes time. Anyways, we'll set that aside. But just so you know, I'm going to be carving Baba Yaga like I did Rosie. I love Rosie. Rosie the zombie steer. Okay, so that all came about, cross-dressing zombie steer, because I started making these zombie steers, because instead of making Day of the Dead skulls, I thought, no, we should do it. I want to make it Canadian, So I made this steer, and I was doing it with little roses on its head and sometimes a little corset and everything. And Steffi, who works with me, says, it can't be called Rosie. Steers are male. And I said, well, that steer identifies as a female, and it's called Rosie the cross-dressing zombie steer. So there you go. That's how Rosie came to be, and I've done lots of them over the last few years. It's just fun, hey? It's good to have fun. And I just wanted to point out this little head at one point, I was going to make all my heads out of copper, and I had fun, and I made a few, and I liked the idea of wrapping them around bones, because the bones themselves can look like heads, right? So it made a lot of sense to put these screens in with the bones so you could see it became its own skull, right? The head of the bone became the skull. Oh, something's going on here. Oh, I've lost another camera. I think that will be the end of our broadcast pretty well then, because I think I've used up all my cameras. But you know what? We've had a good run of it. Made it almost 2 hours, our first episode. I think we did good. I hope people understand that I don't expect them to hang out the whole time here. But Tuesday afternoons, I want to get as much filming done as I can, so that eventually we're going to make documentaries out of these. So that's kind of the end goal. The main goal is to connect with you, and I want to connect with people without being within 6 feet of them. I know, but that was the idea. That was what was happening when I got the idea. We were having a pandemic, and who knows? Like, we just don't know how long this is going to drag out. I thought it would be the end by now, and then we got Omicron, and who knows what next. So, not that I'm all doom and gloom, you know. It hasn't been all doom and gloom. It's certainly, I've had way more time to be in my studio. That's good. And just want to thank everyone again. I want to thank the Treaty 7 territories for allowing us to live, work, and play on their territories, and acknowledge the Calgary Arts Development Association for allowing me to do this project. I could not have done it without them. It's so much to learn all this technology, and I still have one camera to add. So there's that. And I want to thank Cindy and Cherry for being so patient with me while I hooked all this stuff up and practiced. And then, and now Cindy's watching TV. So, and then, what else? Oh yeah, Ron Chikora. I couldn't have done this without you. And the camera store, Drew, thank you, as well as all the team at the camera store. You guys are awesome. Memory Express, all the local merchants, Ken's Gems, Kamerovich, pop-up shows, and delivery service. Like, I can't run my studio without you guys, right? So I believe in shopping local, but I might go on Amazon and buy a few cables if I can't find them in Canada. So, yeah. I love you all. I really do. Thank you. Have a great day. I'm going to fade to black. Fade to black.
So I watched most of it. It went off really well.
Okay, I got a new subscriber. And